Hey, what's going on? Today is the day. We're going to taste the Saison and probably the Belgian Golden Strong as well. I did brew the Belgian Golden Strong prior to the Saison, but since a Saison is typically a lighter beer, we're going to start with that first and then follow up with the BGS. So I'd mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about glassware now that we're going to be pouring and tasting and kind of seeing what that looks like. So I've got several glasses laid out here, and I'll just talk briefly about it so you have an idea of the thought process behind this. So this here is kind of a chalice style. That's an extreme close-up, sorry about that. So with a highly carbonated beer, this bails out for the most part, so it doesn't taper back in like this one and kind of restrict as you pour. That will create more head. So we're gonna go with a glass similar to that for the Saison and the Belgian Golden Strong. I would typically put a sour in one of these two, a pale ale or a porter in this one here. This is not necessarily a beer glass, but I like it. So I might put the Golden Strong in that, or possibly this. This is pretty common for Belgian style ales or big beers, barley wines, imperial stouts, even a regular stout, as is this. This is quite common for big beers. You've started seeing that recently, and even sours. It's got a nice style to it. Again, I know a lot of people don't care about glassware, but it's part of the process, presentation, if you will. And so yeah, we're gonna pour this Saison up and taste it and kind of share with you what we've got and see what we think. One other thing I wanted to mention about glassware in the beer industry is there's something called a dirty beer glass. And it's not actually a dirty beer glass, but it might have some residual soap, or even like if it's dried with a cloth, you could get some small cloth particulates in there. And what that will do is it will cause the carbonation, the bubbles, to stick to the glass. So if you ever see that, technically it's a dirty beer glass, even though hopefully it's not dirty. More than likely it's not, but that can be a little bit of a struggle, keeping your glassware properly clean, but it's part of it. So hopefully what I'm about to pour into is clean. We'll find out quickly. All right, so let me just cover what we did here with the Saison. It's been in the bottle 10 weeks now, and I think it fermented. Primary fermentation was 3, secondary fermentation was 2 weeks, and then it's been packaged for 10. So our original gravity was 1.050, and our final gravity was 1.000, which is very dry, which should be great for a Saison. I think we went with Hallertau Blanc and Saaz hops. And yeah, let's open this up and see what we've got. Let's see. As I mentioned before, I went higher on my carbonation, so I'm expecting a fairly highly carbonated beer. We might have to activate it a little bit here, but yep, there we go. All right, so the glass appears to be pretty clean, and we've got our Saison in the glass. It's got the aroma of a typical Saison. Almost a little honey. You can definitely pick up the malt, the grains. Slight sweetness from the Pilsner malt. maybe a little honeydew. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I know it'll take a little while to develop some more, but for the initial taste, I don't think we're disappointed. Okay. Well, we'll pick back up in a little bit. And I guess I should mention too, I think in one of the videos, I've gotten so many of them now, I've got to really get active. Well, if you're seeing this, I've already been active with posting. But I've got 6 of my beers entered in a national competition. The American Homebrewers Association has a national competition every year called HomebrewCon, and this is one of the beers that's going to be in it. Also, the Belgian Golden Strong, my barley wine, my raspberry sour. I've got a beer it's a sour that's going to be in the wood category, which was not aged in a barrel, but you use oak chips. I used a medium French oak chip for that. And I've got to package that tomorrow because I've got to send this stuff off in 2 weeks. And there is one more. I said 6 and I think I've named 5, but I'll follow up with that and kind of let you know what's going on with the process of this. I think judging starts the 2nd week of April or something like that. And if I qualify regionally, I will be in the final competition in Asheville, North Carolina in the summer of this year. I think it's June or something like that. So pretty optimistic. Either way, I know what I'm doing. I know I've got some good beer. A lot of people make good beer. So hopefully we'll place well. And if not, somebody made better beer than us. See you shortly. You know, one other thing I want to show you too is this has got some lacing on the glass from the carbonation, which is a good sign. That's can be a sign of a quality beer for sure. Maybe not always, but I was expecting a little more carbonation. But this bottle was a little bit short filled, so that could have affected it. I'm not disappointed with the carbonation, and I'm sure it will continue to mature and evolve quite well. So yeah, just wanted to throw that little note in there. And some people might call it beer snobbery, but like I said before, it's sophisticated and it should be. So that's a good thing. All right, jumping back in here again. We're just giving this a little bit of a swirl to kind of activate the carbonation and the aromas. You know, that's one thing about pouring beer in a glass, which I should have probably mentioned before, is, and I know I've talked about how you do everything with your eyes first. Like if it looks nice, looks like a nice presentation, it's got to typically have a little nicer head on it, but we're okay. Aroma, mouthfeel, is it slightly creamy? Is it sweet? Is it bitter? You know, what's going on here? So this is going to be a well-rounded beer. I still think it's probably going to be 6 or 8 more weeks before it's where I would really like it to be. But right now we're off to a good start. Hopefully this is the last time I jump back in on you. But anyway, if not, I guess it means I thought of something else. All right, so I'm down to the last bit of this, and beer, you know, nice beer, I should say sophisticated beer. As it warms a little bit, the aromas come to life a little bit more, the flavors come to life a little bit more, especially with bigger, heavier beers. Not necessarily this, but this does as well. So now I'm kind of just swirling this and getting some notes on the nose. A little bit of barnyard funk, which is not uncommon with a Saison. Something you can kind of get from Saaz hops and also this yeast. This is the first time I've used this yeast. You can see that in the video, the Saison video, Brew Day Saison. but definitely some honeydew and a little bit of white grape, like I mentioned. I wasn't getting that earlier, but I'm getting that on the nose now, and almost a hint of blue cheese, which is also not uncommon for a Saison. It may sound a little strange, but it's a very unique style. Yeah, and kind of the purpose of these glasses too in this presentation is that we sip this kind of like wine. The pinky's optional, of course. You know, you can do this if you want to, but we don't. Anyway, that's kind of the way to drink beer like this. It's kind of an event. You're not slamming beers and, you know, which whatever. People do whatever they want to do. But it's in a glass. It's just, it's a culture. It's beer culture. And it's a lot of fun for me and other people as well, and something. Everybody needs a hobby and an interest. You know, it doesn't have to be beer. It can be whatever you want it to be, but definitely, you know, have something that you enjoy in life, and which I'm sure you do. I hope you do anyway. So yeah, we're gonna move on from the Saison and get into the Belgian Golden Strong here in just a little bit. So we'll see you shortly. Okay, now we're moving on to the Belgian Golden Strong. A little bit about that. It was in the video, but the original gravity was 1.060, which I think I might have discussed that, but that's basically, it's a measurement of how many fermentable sugars, or at least sugars, are in the beer. And then the final gravity was 1.004, so not quite as dry as the Saison. That gave me an ABV of 7.3, which is fine for a Belgian Golden Strong. It can be anywhere between 7 and probably 9, 8.5. Pilsner malt, a little bit of rye. I like some spiciness, and rye will give you spiciness. Hallertau Blanc in this one as well, and Styron Goldens, which is Styron Goldens. Can't remember where that's from. Maybe the UK, maybe not. Anyway, let's pop this, and I went with the same level of carbonation, so we'll see there could be a little difference. I have to just cut this off, and it'd be a good idea if I take the other cap out. All right, so that had a nice pop to it. This was a full bottle. So yeah, let's pour it up and see what we got. Oh yeah, the carbonation is definitely full on this. As you can see, I went with the same glass. Ooh. All right, so it's a little bit cloudy, but not too bad. As you see, it's got a nice head on it, kind of rocky, which just means the bubbles are fairly large, which, you know, with a bottle conditioned ale like this is, typically the bubbles are smaller, so it gives you a little different mouthfeel, but this is got a nice rocky head on it. Aroma wise, shoot, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this. All right, so it took me a minute to kind of figure out the aroma, and I think it'll, as it warms a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be able to pick out some different notes. But right now it's definitely grassy and spicy. Earthy again. I mean, the Saison, I said it was earthy as well. But this rye will give you that earthy, spicy note. It's also, it's on the nose and on the tongue. definitely got a much higher carbonic bite, meaning carbonation, than the Saison did, which is really interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not going to be opening another bottle tonight, but it'll be interesting to see what that is like in a full bottle. Sometimes when you have extra head space, you might not get quite the proper carbonation, like the pressure isn't allowed to build quite as much when you've got extra head space in your bottle. So that's a theory anyway, and I think that's probably correct. So yeah, we'll let this warm a little bit, and I'm hopeful that this head will just retain a nice, white, fluffy, pillowy, kind of rocky head, which pillowy and rocky are not the same thing, but anyway, we'll get back shortly. All right, so it's been a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes. As you can see, the head is really hanging on. You know, you can swirl it and just activate it without any problem. Like I said before, I'm definitely getting some spicy notes. A little bit of banana, which I've never really noticed with this yeast, the BE256, but it's not out of style for what it should be. I guess meaning the yeast should produce a little bit of banana. So maybe, I think I said, I know I did actually, I fermented both of these primary at 68 instead of 66, which I usually prefer 66. And I think I would probably go back to 66, at least on this one, the Belgian Golden Strong, and I would probably use pale malt instead of Pilsner malt. They're pretty close to each other, but I would prefer a little more malt flavor than I'm getting. This is not completely dry like the Saison, but it's pretty dry. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's disappointing by any means, and I know it's actually not at all. But it will develop over time, and I usually I make 5-gallon batches for the most part, and they usually last a couple of years, 18 months, 24 months, sometimes a little bit longer than that. I even got one that's a little over 5 years. So been looking for an occasion to enjoy that one, but that's another story. So anyway, this one's going to the competition, like I said, and it should be good. We're optimistic that we're in it. So that's all. I don't know. I don't normally get competitive with stuff like this, but it's fun. Yeah, helps get rid of some of the beer too, because 5 gallons is a lot. I like to share it with people when I can, but it's kind of hard to I don't know, it's kind of hard to do that, especially now. A lot of people don't drink this kind of beer. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this little session. I'm going to be bottling the Dark Strong here tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, I'm bottling the wood aged beer tomorrow for the competition, the Wood Sour. And then transferring the Dark Strong to secondary for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3. I might not go with quite this high of carbonation in that. Like I said, a higher carbonation is new for me. I may try to land somewhere in between this and what I was doing, which would be 1.3 ounces of dextrose per gallon. So anyway, I'm off in the weeds here on that, so sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.